So developing an NDIS plan. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. So you really do need to be really thinking quite carefully about forming your goals and keeping them broad, and are they meaningful. So before we entered the NDIS scheme, we didn't have any funding supporting Jack at all, apart from at school. We were offered funding, but it didn't really align with our vision for Jack. A lot of it was around respite and it wasn't flexible, so we didn't take that up. But instead we invested in what Deb was talking about earlier, is the circles of support and a bunch of mates, which is something we crafted from the idea around a circle of support, but it was within the school. So a circle of support involves a group of people coming together to help promote and support and put into action the goals of the person with a disability. So it does start with asking people to be involved in your family member's life in a freely given way. That's often where a lot of people get stuck. We're not very good at asking, I don't think, in Australian culture, but if you can get sort of over that hump, it is such a powerful way to bring people into your life where they can help you do some thinking and help you navigate ways through your life for the purpose that you've crafted for the reason for the circles of support, because it can be different for everybody. We've currently got one going at the moment where it's helping us think about how we can make sure Jack is fully embedded in his community, particularly because we're homeschooling. We don't want him missing out on anything, and one of our principles around Jack's good life is having strong relationships, but he's got to be there to form those relationships, so it's making sure that that's still happening. With the bunch of mates, that's probably where most of our efforts have gone over the years. We've been running a bunch of mates for Jack since, I think I said 3.5 years, but it's probably more on 4 years, where we as a family I would go into the school once a week during the lunchtime and spend some time with a group of kids that Jack had chosen to be there, and sort of do some thinking around how can Jack be more involved in lunchtime antics and also doing things outside of school. Because a lot of it happens very spontaneously where kids get together, but we have to be more intentional with Jack. And that, to me, I think has been the glue to particularly moving into the teenage years. We knew that they were going to be tricky, and they are, but just keeping those relationships strong. And so even now that Jack's being homeschooled, the bunch of mates still come and have breakfast with Jack every fortnight on a Friday morning. And from that, Jack's now going to youth group with those kids, and there's other opportunities that are opened up. But had we not been intentional about that, I don't know whether those relationships would have been as strong. So it's been really powerful. Because the relationships are at the heart of belonging, and so if that's the case, then we've been, shamelessly nurturing any opportunities such as birthday parties, invitations to come over and hang out, because that's when, the reciprocity comes into play. Jack's still getting invited to birthday parties this year even, so I think that it might seem like hard work sometimes, but it pays off. We've also immersed Jack in sport. Our family loves sports, so it made sense for us. And, making sure that Jack's been trying new sports as well. That's where a lot of kids develop relationships, and we make sure that that's the case for Jack as well. We also really invest in our neighbourhood. One thing that we've been doing for the last 3 years is holding a Neighbour Day party. Yes, there is such a thing. There is a Neighbour Day. Sad but true that we have to have a particularly designated day for this. But it's a really good excuse to bring your neighbours together, and Jack's been at the heart of that. And he goes around and knocks on the door, with one of us with him, and he does the inviting. And I think that personal touch has been what has brought people to come and meet. They all bring a plate. It's not a cost to us. And the neighbours love it. And we're still meeting new neighbours. And from this year, Jack's now been asked to sort of coordinate the social tennis day for the neighbours, and also a working bee for the wetlands, which is across the road. And so Jack sort of, he's now got 2 more roles because of in bringing neighbours together. And some beautiful things happened actually, where one neighbour, her husband had left her a couple of years ago, and she said, look, I'm really happy to do someone's ironing if some guy can come over and help us do some handiwork around the house. And there's that reciprocity coming into the neighbourhood, which is really lovely to see. So being neighbourly, Jack did some watering of the neighbour's garden when they're away. We bring each other's bins in, we collect the mail, little things like that. It just helps build those relationships, and it's really lovely to have. So if you're thinking that you don't know many people in your community, it's a really great way to get started. But then the NDIS came along, so we've gone from no funding to, oh, hang on, there's this NDIS scheme, and we are going to dip our feet in to see what happens. So when Jack was deemed eligible after going through the access request form or process, we sort of then started thinking, well, what are we going to ask for? And we find out, I'm right, thank you for the moment. What are we going to ask for? How are we going to approach this conversation? And we found that a lot of people were thinking, well, what can we get? And I don't know whether that's the best place to start. I think starting with your vision is the place to start. And then thinking about, well, what can we focus on for the next year? And where are we heading? How can we break that down into smaller achievable goals? And most importantly, where could paid support complement Jack's informal supports? So Jack's vision was instrumental in shaping Jack's goals. We focused on who we wanted Jack to become, and always involving Jack in the dreaming. We focused on the roles where Jack could contribute and participate in his community, and the relationships of being the heart of our planning. So you can see here where we've pulled out the vision, part of Jack's vision here, and then we've kept the goal really broad. I would like to meet new friends and deepen friendships through hobbies, sport, music, drama and school. So we wanted to try a new sport, but like here I've got here, join the local golf club or archery club. I'd even keep it broader than that, because we've dipped our toes into that, but it wasn't for Jack. So I would keep it just join some local sporting groups. And then contribute to his soccer skills, because the game's getting fast and furious. So we wanted to make sure Jack could keep up. And that's been really worth investing in. Increasing Jack's bike riding skills. Jack's only mastered bike riding since he entered the NDIS scheme, so only a couple of years. And so we definitely needed him to be developing those skills further so he could join the school mountain bike riding club. We also wanted him to join a drama group, so I would even keep that broad too, like not necessarily within the school, but just any drama group. His second eldest sister, she's right into drama as well. I think they're 2 peas in a pod, those two. So Jack's just about to start a drama group next week. So, it takes a while sometimes, but we had to find the right one, and I think we have. So the next one was, so Jack has now got a lawn mowing business up and going. He's at the ripe old age of 14. But we were really keen to help Jack understand early what the responsibilities of work will be, and for him to sort of understand, well, this is how you earn money. Lawn mowing's great because you get cash in hand, and so he can really see that. It's not just going into a bank account where he doesn't see it or understand that you've actually been paid to do something. But he needed to learn more around setting the business up and sort of owning that whole process. He also wanted to learn more about how to promote it and engage some clients and the responsibilities associated with it. But more importantly, how could we help him be competent in doing the lawn mowing from the setup to the pack up, right through that process. So we're very much looking at a business mentor. Jack's at a really good age entering the NDIS scheme as far as funding for pre-vocational skills go. If you're over 18, I was in a planning meeting the other day and they asked the family, would your daughter be able to access the disability employment services? Have they been through the job capacity assessment? I don't know whether that's the process here, but it is in Canberra. And they didn't know whether they'd been through that process or not. If you are, they don't seem to want to give you any funding around employment. So Jack's probably at a good age for getting that sort of pre-vocational funding for employment. But I would definitely be pursuing that and making sure it gets into the plan regardless. Any kind of pre-vocational skill development is just so crucial, and it is very much the vision of the NDIA. So we are looking for a business mentor rather than an employment service provider. And we look at a therapy assistant. So we knew that we were potentially going to get a lot of therapy in Jack's plan. And so he's coming up to his second review. So our third plan we'll be entering into soon. And on the first review, we said, look, we hardly used any of the therapy, so we don't really want it. And he got an astronomical amount of therapy in his second plan. Another one, Jack wanted to continue to develop his bike riding skills and compete in the Weet-Bix triathlon. And so we definitely needed Jack to, so he wears orthotics, so he could get funding for that. And also to seek some advice from the physio and get the therapy assistant to help, implement, Jack's training for the Weet-Bix triathlon. So, I can't see how that was going to happen in a physiotherapist's room, as opposed to Jack going to the gym and practicing the transitions and running and bike riding and learning how to, get across roads safely and all of that. What we've learnt is there's two ways for supporting Jack with bike riding. He could be accompanied, and that would be teaching him dependence because, he's not really learning how to cross the road safely, or he could be taught, and that's the approach that we've taken. And now Jack is riding to the shops by himself. It still does give me a heart attack, but he's doing it, but that's because he's been taught to stop and look for himself. What the easy way is like, get to the road, nothing's coming, Jack, just cross. But he's not learning the skills himself, and that was really important to us. And it's been really fabulous. I can show you some photos later in the presentation of the outcomes of our goals. Oh, I know I'm going way over here. So yes, we've gone for the sports coach here to attend the Acacia. So Jack's sports coach has been to 2 physio sessions, the only sessions he's had. And then he is implementing that in the gym and just everyday life in what Jack's doing. Jack's far more motivated to be doing his sort of gym workouts in preparation for the triathlon with a young, fit sports coach rather than his mother and father. That is for sure. And so, Jack's really well known at the gym. We're not really seeing that that's the place where he's building really strong relationships, but he's well known. And he's also been learning squash there, so then the aim for that is that he can then play squash with his friends. But he needed to develop the skills first, and that's what he's been doing. It's been fabulous. Another one is the increases pre-vocational skills, such as holding conversations, reading and spelling. In our very first plan, we had this, we must have said something about getting support for Jack learning to read, because we were doing a reading program with Jack at home, because he sadly didn't learn to read at school. So we wanted some support with that. And they're like, oh, no, we definitely can't do that. That's education, where we won't touch that. You would typically get a reading tutor. We're not paying for that. So I went, okay, well, this is for his pre-vocational skill development. Oh yeah, we'll fund that. I'm like, oh, okay, but just don't call it a reading tutor. All right, I can do that. So you are sort of playing games a little bit.
What was the words you got for it?
So pre-vocational skill development, and that's where the communications mentor comes in. So we did employ somebody for a year in supporting us with Jack with his reading program, and but we called them a communications mentor. One of Jack's goals also was reading the menu at the restaurant. So, you know, we take for granted what reading can bring into your life, and you know, when you're 14, you should be able to go. You know, if you've got that capacity, we should absolutely be investing in that, so he can go to the local restaurants and you know, read the menu and order for himself. Yeah, we've used the communications mentor and not a behaviour specialist, which is what we're seeing a lot of in plans as well. A careers mentor and not a speech therapist or a communications mentor. We just find that we just don't want Jack to be thrown into the client role, and that's why we've used all these different sort of other roles for the people that are going to be in his life in a paid way. So we're trying to make sure that Jack's not seen as the client. He's, you know, seen as someone that's training for a Weet-Bix triathlon with a sports coach. Can you see the difference there?